Has it ever happened to you, those low notes not working properly? Well, don't worry, in this video I'm going to show you how to work out what the problem is and how you can get it fixed so you can get back playing really quickly. G'day, Nigel here from Saxophone. Well, in this lesson today we're going to talk about something a bit different. We're going to talk about some saxophone repair tips, and specifically today we're going to talk about what happens if those low notes on your saxophone, like from low C down to B and B flat, are just not popping out. It happens a lot. I hear it happen a lot with my sax school students. And if it's happened to you, then you're going to find this really useful, because we're going to talk about ways you can fix it. And to help me with this, I've got my mate and master saxophone repairer Steve Crow in the studio to have a chat about that. How you doing, Steve?
Fine, thank you.
Now, Steve's a great repairer, and he's the guy that I trust with all my saxophones. He's one of the top guys in England for repairing. And if you want to find out more about Steve, there's a link below this video, actually. So this problem where you're playing down and basically everything below a C doesn't work, you must see it a lot, Steve.
Every day, yeah.
Now, am I right in thinking that there's probably one or two things that happen most commonly to cause this? What is it?
Usually it's there's what we call a regulation bar. It's above the F sharp that covers the G. So
that's this one here. So
yeah.
Between my right hand and my left hand, you can see, is that one there, right?
Yes, and anything past the 50s will have two regulation screws on. The bottom regulation screw is for the long B flat, 1 and 1, but the top regulation screw is for the G sharp.
So how could we check just to make sure that that
right.
was?
So if you now, just in a second, if you play down to C and then past C, so you're engaging any table key on the left hand, he's not going to voice properly.
So like a low B or a B flat? Yeah. Okay.
What I'm going to do is I'm not going to touch the screw, I'm actually going to touch the pad cup itself, the G sharp pad cup, and I'm just going to gently touch it so as it shuts as it should do.
Oh, okay.
And then your notes will improve, and if they do, then that's where the problem is.
Right, okay, so.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, that's really interesting, because when you haven't got your finger on that key, Steve, my B is doing that sort of warbly thing.
Yep.
You know, if you're watching this video, you may have had that same problem. It's really common with those low B and the B flat, where you try and play it and it sort of goes wah 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 instead of making a nice clear sound. And so that's causing the problem, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've identified that that's the problem. How do we go about fixing it, Steve?
Okay, you should have a screw with a piece of cork on the underneath of it. Some older ones don't have this, but if it's got the screw, you need a screwdriver, and you need, well, 2 screwdrivers. So what I'm going to do, instead of pressing the screw down onto the pad cup, I want to prevent squashing that cork, because that then will throw the regulation out even more. You want to screw the screw even further in, and then when the cork comes back to its thickness it should be, it's even further out and it's throwing the F sharp.
Oh, right. So what you're saying is you don't just stick your screwdriver in and start turning. You're better to hold it off the pad.
If you can get your little finger in there, it's a bit difficult. It depends how easy the screw is to turn. Some repairers, they will put Loctite on the screw to stop the screw from turning. If that's so, you're going to have to use another method, which I'll show you in a minute. But if you can turn the screw, put something underneath the bar, in between the 2 screws, on top of the G sharp pad cup, to prevent the bar from shutting down.
Oh, I see.
And if I'm going to just turn the screw clockwise, half a turn.
So if you're at home trying to do this, I suppose you would just experiment with trying it a little bit and then testing it?
Yeah, so I've gone half turn, but actually what you need to do really is maybe a second on a clock at a time, and just, if you adjust it 1 second, try to play your bottom notes again. If they then come out clearly, then leave it alone. If they're getting better, then maybe another second on a clock, and it's always clockwise as you're looking down at the screw.
Oh, okay. Should I try it again and see how it plays?
Yeah, try that.
Yeah, okay. Wow, so all you've done really is just wind that screw in a little bit to make sure that's sealing. Well, it's playing a lot better now.
Great.
So would you leave it at that point? Now, would you?
I would leave it, because in this situation you're either on a gig and you need to get it working, or maybe you're at home but you haven't got the time to go to a repairer to get it checked properly. But at least it's playing, and it's playing good enough until you can get time to get it checked out.
So what about if I'm adjusting this and I went too far, what's going to happen? Should we try that and just to see?
Right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw it really, really far out. So I'm going to full turn there.
Okay, so basically this is what it would sound like if you were adjusting that screw and you went in too far. You screwed it in too far. So it's feeling really stodgy right from the F down. Is that?
Yep.
Yeah, so basically before everything was working down to the C, but there was the bottom notes that wasn't working, and now it's everything below a G that's not working. So the screw's gone in too far.
Yeah, so I'll back it off now.
All right, okay.
So same again, I'm going to put the little screwdriver in between the two screws to hold the bar back, and then I'm just going to back off the regulation screw.
Yeah, straight away it's really clear. Another thing that you can check, this is an important little quick tip. If that's your problem note, and we've made the saxophone out of adjustment now, then another thing that you can check is by actually just looking down at the keys, you'll be able to see whether there's some movement on that particular pad. So we're talking about the pad here between the left hand and the right hand.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. If you just activate G sharp now, you see the G sharp moving up and down. If you just take your left hand fingers off and just activate G sharp, so we can identify, and this one as well, so you can actually identify G sharp. See which one we're talking about.
Okay. So if we look at it from the front, hopefully you can see this in the camera. But basically, this is the pad that we're talking about. That's the problem pad for the low notes.
Yeah.
The G sharp key here is the one that lets that note go up and down. That pad, that cup, go up and down. So. And then the F key is the one that pushes it down, is that right?
That's right, that's correct, yeah.
So if I have my F key down and I put the G sharp.
Yeah, you can now see the G sharp moving forward slightly. It's easier to see from that side.
Yeah, so if we try and look at it from this way, I've got my, this is the key here.
Yep.
And if I put the F key down and then the G sharp.
Yep.
There's a little bit of movement in there.
That's right.
If I saw that on a gig,
yep, I'd
be worried, right?
Yeah, and it could be two things. It could be the screw that's come loose, or normally it's the cork that's come away from the screw. It'll be somewhere on the floor, you can't find it.
What do you do in that situation?
Right, you need to...
Because most people don't carry a piece of cork and some glue around. I guess you could.
Well, you could do, and that's a great idea. A few elastic bands, a little bit of cork, with self-adhesive sellotape on both sides, you know, insulation tape. And you can quickly get your instrument back on track, at least to get the gig done.
Yeah, okay.
And get it home.
So if we had that situation where the cork had fallen off on this particular key, and we had some insulation tape, what would we do?
Well, what I would do is cut some. It doesn't have to be as neat and as tidy as that, but all I've done is cut 4 pieces, and I'm just going to stick. We're imagining that the cork has disappeared from under the screw of the G sharp. Okay. So all I'm going to do is.
So basically what we're talking about is underneath that screw there's a piece of cork, right?
Yeah, and that cork hits the top of the G sharp pad. So all I want to do is take the gap away. I've put 1 piece of insulation tape there, and if you just try and play the instrument now.
Yeah, okay, just to see whether it is gonna close down that. See, it is playing, but it's still not properly sealing that. And actually, doing that test that we were doing before with the F and the G sharp, I can see there's still a bit of movement in there.
Okay, so we'll put another piece on top of the first piece, so it's becoming thicker now, and it's doing the same thing as adjusting the screw, but we're just from the opposite end. So
if you mentioned before that some repairers or maybe even the instrument makers will put Loctite on those screws.
Yeah.
So if you're in that situation where you physically can't turn that screw, could you use this fix?
This is exactly.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, that's a good tip, that actually, because pretty much everyone's got some insulation tape kicking around at home. If not, it's cheap, and you can throw some in your saxophone case, right?
Yep. One more piece?
One more piece maybe. Actually, that'd be a good thing for us to talk about in another video, is a repair kit that you can carry in your saxophone case. I think most pro players that you talk to, and I know when I'm out gigging, I have a set number of things that I carry with me that have helped me, because sometimes I've been in a situation where I've been in another country. I've got on a plane, flown somewhere else. I remember doing a gig in the countryside in Italy, and you know, in a situation like that, if you have a problem, you need to be able to fix it yourself, because you can't go and find a Steve to fix it. Well, it's getting better.
One more. This should do it now.
So let's try. We've got 4 pieces of tape on here now. Brilliant. So now I could finish off my gig and I would be sorted.
And it's not going to do, the insulation tape won't affect the lacquer.
Yeah, and it'll get me until I can get to a repairer and get it actually fixed. So that's awesome. So I hope that's been really helpful to you. So if you have that problem now where your low notes aren't sealing, then you've got a couple of tactics that you can use to get up and running with that. Just one more thing I thought, am I right in thinking that sometimes a situation happens where the actual bell goes out of alignment?
Yes.
So we're talking about, you know, I guess if this is the most common one, the other problem that could cause the low notes to not seal is this alignment issue, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about that. I mean, for a start, it's pretty horrific to think, if you're relatively new to saxophone, that the bell and the body could be out of alignment, but they aren't actually necessarily welded down here, are they?
No, there's 2 different types. There's the sax with a bracket, which this has got a bracket or a brace. So there's 2 pieces. The bell and the bow comes away from the body. But sometimes they're either soldered or glued. The thing that holds the bell in place is this bracket here. If I just took the bracket away, I could move the bell very, very easily left to right. So if it gets a knock, it's usually this that's been strained and pushed one way or the other. If it gets pushed this way, then the bass keys are very heavy at the back and light at the front. If it gets pushed that way, it's the opposite. So it's going to be very heavy at the front and light at the back.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. So, and I guess that could happen really easy, like, because I know some people pick up their saxophones like that, yeah. Or you could bang it on something.
It could happen in the case as well.
Like what do you mean, if the case gets bumped or something?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's just, it's amazing how easy the bell can get knocked out of alignment. Even on quite a lot of services, when instruments come in to be serviced, you can guarantee quite a few of them will have.
Yeah. Well, I've seen you do that to my saxophone, my tenor.
Yeah.
Actually, where you look like you're giving it a big bear hug, and then all of a sudden it works again.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would suggest that adjusting the alignment of your bell and your body isn't the sort of thing you do yourself. Maybe you take it to a repairer, but it might be important to know how to identify that is the issue, so you know that it's time to take it to a repairer. So how would you see that if you low note's not working and you've tried this key and that's not fixed it, how could you check to see if it was an alignment issue?
You need to get some kind of light either in the bell, or so you can see the light from this part, or shine the light from the front and look down the bell, and you can see really it will show.
Well, should we do that now?
Yeah.
I bet you could use like a mobile phone. Have you got a torch on your phone?
Yeah.
All right.
You just hold that a minute.
Well, let's see if we can see in here. Okay, so what we're doing here is we've got a light from your mobile phone there shining into these pads. So if I try and close that, what we're looking for is down here to see if we can see light coming through. And if you can look down the bell and you can see light coming in from the outside when you close it, am I right in thinking that's a good indication that's an alignment issue?
That's correct.
So you could do it the other way, couldn't you, and shine the light down here. If you shine a light straight down the bell and then close those keys, you shouldn't be able to see any light there. And if you can, would that be an alignment issue too, Steve?
That's correct. It looks like we've got an alignment issue.
It's a good thing you're here, Steve. You can fix it for me.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So hopefully that's been helpful, and there's some really great tips in there. And now, if you have that problem with your saxophone where it's warbly down the bottom or it's just stuffy, not playing, try these things out, see how they work for you. And remember, it is really important as a saxophone player that you learn a little bit about the mechanics of your instrument so that you can fix these issues when they happen and keep you up and running and enjoying playing saxophone a bit more. If you want to find out a bit more about Steve, I'll put a link below this video. Check him out. If you live in England, he is the best guy to go and get your saxophones repaired. He does all sorts of really interesting stuff. And actually, we need to have a talk about your saxophone conversions too, because you do some really interesting stuff. That's something we'll talk about another day. Also, if you want to find out a bit more about Sax School, jump over to McGillmusic.com. Hundreds of lessons, and there's thousands of people using these things, and they honestly will help you get up and running. But also, if it's your first time here, please do subscribe to my channel, because I'm putting videos out like this all the time to help you play saxophone, have some fun, keep you inspired. And apart from that, happy practicing. We'll catch you on the next video. And you and me need to see if we can fix out this problem. So I got no issue down there.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
All right, you need to do your bear hug thing, don't you?